So let's go over some common pitfalls of not getting into the US or things that people run into issues with.
Yeah, so pitfalls, one is documents not being filled out correctly. The main ones are going to be your commercial invoice and your packing list. So, there's a decent amount that needs to be on there, but what I see most often not included is one, the country of origin not being put on those documents. So it needs to say, on the carton, on these documents, I always just, would double check them as I come in. Does it say like country of origin, China or India or wherever it's coming through? Because that'll be a huge red flag and creates a lot of headaches there. Number two is going to be a descriptive product classification. So like really describing, the type of product that's coming in. So there's no ambiguity as well is number two. And then three, every line item on those documents needs to have a cost. It can't be $0. So a lot of people bring it, like if they have like extra, like, packaging or something.
Oh, so you got to put a price on that actually for the
You got to
extra
put a price
packaging.
on there because zero, then it's, customs doesn't know how much is coming in. And that can hold up shipments. And I've seen that happen. And then the other big one is just the types of products. So as I'm sure you can imagine, there's a lot of different types of products. I can't like go into detail on every product that you should, look at, but I can give you some good guidelines. So number one is, that I see a lot of people miss is, products that claim or have any sort of health benefit. So even some
Supplements,
like
essentially.
supplement,
Hmm.
exactly, or a massager or something like a hand massager,
Oh,
like that's supposed to give you relief. But then if you have anything that's doing any kind of thing or has anything that says, hey, this affects your health, then you need to have FDA certification, which is, for someone just starting out, expensive and takes time. And so if you're just starting out, I would avoid that product. And then, or those types of products. And then basically anything that's, hazardous or dangerous. So, the like main ones is one, anything with batteries. There's extra classification there because of course, there are some batteries like lithium ion batteries that can randomly explode or catch fire. And if you're on a plane or a boat, you don't want that happening. So that's one to be aware of. Anything that has magnets is another one. And then the kind of obvious ones are, like chemicals, combustibles, anything like that, fertilizer or gases, anything that can basically explode or catch on flames. It's not that you can't bring those things in. There's just extra documentation. It's called the MSDS. And you would need to fill that out and make sure your supplier has that information. If it's your first product, again, I would avoid those types of products because you're going to be learning so much else, so much more on other parts. Would maybe venture into that once I'm more seasoned with shipping.
yeah, for sure. So you said country of origin on the outside of the carton in the beginning, but what
Yeah.
about country of origin actually on the product? For example, needing to say made in China. Like if your supplier forgets to put that on there, is that an issue for getting it in ever?
That's a great question. I'm glad you clarified that. So yes, you need them on both. So on the outside of the carton and then on the individual unit. So if you say have your unit on in a poly bag, which we do see, the typical label that I see is one that is a suffocation warning with the poly bag, and then right underneath that, the Amazon FBA barcode, and then underneath that is going to be the country of origin. So every unit needs to have that. So and that's because the end consumer needs to know where that product came from. That needs to be disclosed. That's why it has to be on every unit. And then like customs needs to know where your shipment's coming from. So that's why it has to be on the carton. So and that is something I actually get a lot of questions on too. Is what needs to be on the outside of the carton I put the labels on, the FedEx labels and the FBA labels and the unit labels, what needs to be printed on the carton. That's pretty loose. But the main things I would put on there is, the basic information like your company name, your supplier's name and address. What's really helpful is having your Amazon SKU, FNS SKU on that box as well, in case there's anything that needs to happen at the warehouse. A warehouse could just look at the box like, oh, it's that, red SKU that's in there, which makes that work a lot easier. And then of course the country of origin, and then all the dimensions like the weight and the size of the cartons. As long as you have that, you're fine. You're good to go.
Oh, okay. Perfect. You guys know the pitfalls. Some of them, most of them. Cool. See, if people have questions, they can ask below or ask your freight forwarder, because they are there to help.
Absolutely. Yeah, more than happy to help. So just put the questions down below.
Awesome.